definitely a pretty warm weekend. I'm not too much of a kind of person that likes to get out when it's really hot. I think that's mostly just because I'm used to the, the air conditioner. So, it's kind of a, I don't want to say it's a steep grade, but you can kind of get a good idea how steep it is there. Whew, I need to get out more. Good gravy. Oh man. Out here in the process of building like a log cabin type structure. You can see how that's cut around that notch there. Very nice. It's full of cedars out here, just the most amount of cedars I've ever seen. I'm actually back here stalking a rabbit I seen jump off. But I found another camp. Oh, I just missed the rabbit jumping off. Trying to go as slow as I can, but yet as fast as I can. Rabbits sometimes will either flee or hold extremely tight. If you get just a little too close, then they'll bound off. This one bound off. My initial up to it. Another thing to note that rabbits like to do sometimes is wherever you scared them up, they like to do a circle and come right back to where they originally were. So if you just kind of stick tight, that's what they will do. I love how it's just so green back here. The vegetation around here's gotten so thick that you really can't tell which direction's which, other than I can hear road noise and know where the sun is. You could just get lost. Blackthorn USA has a lot to offer, such as this knife-only course that just recently got over. The remnants right here you can see. We'll go ahead and check out a few of these shelters, and you can kind of see what guys have come up with during their course. Here's a pretty fine example of a shelter. This right here is kind of small and compact, which is exactly what you want. You don't want something that's super big and elaborate. They're really time consuming, and they don't do you any better other than give you more room. People are so used to in their homes of having such a large area to work in that they don't understand that this will help conserve more heat if need be, and it's easier to build. This one has utilized a lot of cedar boughs and leaves on top of it with some moss, quite a few different layers in it, and just natural vegetation as a ground buffer. It looks like dirt, but trust me, it's really nice and soft. This one here has to be one of my favorite. Kind of is it, you could sit up in there. It's just kind of little, like a hobbit hole almost. Very, very, very fun. I'd love to sleep in that one. Check out this quick, crude basket. This is just one way to remember a course. They plan on taking this tree out anyway. There's just so many. It'd make a great large lodgepole. The property even pretty much butts up to this body of water here, which is a great resource. Look at that body of water, isn't it beautiful? Makes you kind of want to go for a swim. Biggest thing that I never did is just to realize that this doesn't have to be something you go fast on. It's more about pressure than speed. And I'm not saying speed doesn't help, but obviously if you rub your hands fast enough against each other, you'll create heat, like when your hands are cold. My daughter does that sometimes. You want to make sure you're in the most comfortable position you can. And even I sometimes will cause the spindle to rock out. So just remembering, I like the arch of my foot on the hearth, because if you move back like here, this puts your hand further away from your shin, and naturally your arch is right in front of your arch of your foot is right in front of your shin. That's something I see even people that are really good at it do differently than I do. They like to kind of do it like this, and I personally think that you put it on your arch, sometimes you can get that board to sit better on the ground by rocking your foot forward or backwards when it's in your arch. It locks it in there because your arch is almost a heel cup to hold it down. It's kind of a natural clamp for it. And this locks this into your shin. And like I said, when you start off, just start off slow. This is no need to be in a hurry. If you want to be that person, you're like, I can get smoked that way, but I'll get super tired really fast. You just create even strokes and concentrate on just making sure that you're holding this thing parallel to the ground, using the full length of the bow, because if you're doing this, see how I'm short stroking it? Really short strokes. I can get smoke, but I can also get smoke and longer, more concentrated heat with longer strokes. And I can talk to you. A lot of times I don't sing out loud, but I kind of like to just hum a little tune just to calmly keep you calm. And sometimes if you think you got an ember, you just decide, I'm gonna take a look. I don't know. And sometimes you don't have an ember. Or sometimes you do. Like that. So you can see that it's not really hard work, it's just putting the elements together and realizing that a lot of times that your actual physical force, I mean, you can see with my hand, when I lean forward, it physically wants to go down. That creates more pressure for you. And once you get it, if you do get winded, you just kind of let this coal up. If you don't, this dust here will basically break apart. You want it to kind of create its own little cherry. And not get a tinder bundle ready, which you would want to do beforehand. Tinder bundles are something that I'm still learning on. But it took me a long time to realize some stuff. You want something that's, you know, been worked or fluffy. This here is just inner bark. We live in Kansas and we've got a lot of wind. There's been some times where it's so windy I do not dare pick that ember up like that and set it into my tinder bundle. It's not fair to do that. The other thing that was hard for me to learn was I used to take my tinder bundles and make them as fluffy as possible. And then I would take the ember and set it in the tinder bundle and then try to blow it into flame. And this one's cooled up enough that it's cherried to my board. And then I'd try to blow on it and it would blow that ember clear to the back of my bundle where I could not even get to it. This particular bark, for some reason, I've had trouble with it. It doesn't want to blow into flame. But you can take punk wood and use it as a coal extender to help this coal last longer. See how it doesn't want to catch flame? But this one here, kind of holding the ember, instead of going like really hard, fast burst, if you just take and concentrate really slow breaths into it, freaking hot as piss. I collected this bark from a tree that I did not know what it was, and I collected a lot of it, as you can see. But a lot of these materials like to hold a coal. So you don't have to work hard for it. But if you take the back of the bundle and you actually physically pinch it, you can see it's building its own heat, especially if you use something like punkwood as a coal extender to put in there. You can burn your hands with this. Like I said, this is freaking tender. It's ridiculous. Sometimes you can kind of see where the smoke's going, right here. If you put this tinder bundle where the smoke's coming in your face, that sucks. If you take the tinder bundle and you stick it where the smoke's going this way, it'll want to updraft. But if you actually let the wind pull the smoke across from you, it will always blow to the side. Put it above you so the smoke goes up, because smoke likes to rise. Wish I had something longer than my leg on. But it's alright. I'll make do. I always do. I used to do hand drill by putting my leg out here like this and then doing it out here. But if you do this, you can't get any downward pressure. And your arms, I mean, just try to hold your arms out in front of you for even a minute. You virtually can't do that. Get your arms almost locked into your elbows almost locked into your sides. See how I'm like right over top of it? I like to heat the board up first by doing the floating technique. That's not something you want to, you know, you can do whatever you want. It's something that takes a while to learn. You can take sap from like these pine trees to get more grip. You can spit on your hands. That's something that I'm kind of slowing down, not doing as much, just because the spit ends up giving me blisters faster, because it softens the material on my hands. But you just want to build up dust. A lot of times when you do this, you see a lot of smoke. A lot of times it's your spindle smoking, as you can see there. Could be an ember in there. I guess there is a beginning too. But
and that sucker says he doesn't mean to, and we've been fighting to get.
I'm only going to warm up the.
But see, that's a small coal. That's a super small coal. And this is why it's important to add like punkwood to it, or you can just spend more time spinning and create more dust. The dust will just keep leaving out the end of it. But if anybody wants to try this too, you're more than welcome to try it. This is probably the most idea material you'll ever get to use. I think this is sodal. You think that's what it looks like? I don't know. And this is meal fat. So. You ever go to Arizona? I was sitting here doing this with the guy, and I think it was like 15 seconds. And he goes, "You got a coal?" And I said, "No, I don't." "Oh, really?" I went like that, and he goes, "Man, you got a lot of downward force." I said, "Wow, that's crazy. I've never in my life been able to do that." And I got to use material that I had never got to use either, because we don't have this around here.
and it's so dry there that here, with the moisture that we have, you have to force it to do more stuff than what they do. They can get away with less pressure down there. But I have to force it to really dig in. You want to hear that grinding noise. You can kind of hear it. You can definitely hear it right here because it resonates through the top of the spindle. It's right here. But you're more than welcome to. And then if you want to, usually you go all the way down. Maybe not completely to the bottom. And you want to go as fast as you can to the top. Take your hand, grab the top, I put my thumb on it, and then just start again. Downward pressure. And you could see that speed with this is not super important. It's more about pressure, because see, if I can give it pressure, I'm starting to bow it. You want something that's strong enough that can take these forces. I got another ember on it. But if you want to try this out, you can kind of see the woody stuff here that's starting to form on the outside. That stuff will cause your dust to kind of get kicked out from the side. If your hole gets too deep, that will really cause your spindle to bind up in the hole, especially if you're doing a lot of this number and not keeping it straight vertical. You'll really want to bind up and you're like, gosh, this is really hard. And if that's the case, start a new hole, or you can take your knife and not only clean that up, but actually carve out the top edge of this, or just skim off the top. Because what's happening is you're getting locked, forced. It's almost like drilling a hole with a drill bit and then trying to take the drill bit and twist it. It's not going to go. You're creating too much force on the side, and a lot of that times that'll cause your spindle to break this edge out like that. You can kind of see how if you're doing that, it'll just break that tip out, and you're left starting all over.